Let's get some further analysis on this and bring in Joe Siracusa. He's an author as well as a professor in security and diplomacy at Curtin University in Australia. He joins me now live from Melbourne. Joe, always good to see you. I want to pick up with you with Biden's comments. Michael was talking about it. I'm sure you listened in. Expand on this. Is this, I mean, the White House is saying it's not a break from policy, but actually it is. I mean, just because you clear the air of ambiguity, what is it?
Good afternoon. Actually, it's an important statement. When a president says something, things start to happen. People start to think certain things. And frankly, I thought his comments were, number one, reckless, because the United States since 1972, since the Shanghai Communique, has agreed that there's only one China, and Taiwan is part of China. And the deal is Taiwan can do whatever it wants to do. It just can't have a separate foreign policy. That's the deal. It can prosper and all the rest of it. And the other part of the deal is that China will not intervene militarily. We all know that. And that was why the United States left Taiwan in 1979 on that provision. Now, when Biden says we're going to defend Taiwan, this is the effect of the Putin's military incursion into Ukraine. You know, this is his response, is that he thinks he has to get tougher and tougher. I mean, comments like that are very unhelpful. They're extremely provocative. And you know what? They're just damn wrong, because most Americans would not agree with that. I have friends in the Pentagon who do wargaming, and they say 100 out of 100 times, the United States loses the war games around the Taiwan Strait. In fact, that Taiwan Strait would be filled up with sunken American ships. I mean, we can't win that war, so it would escalate very quickly into World War III. And I do not believe Americans are going to trade Taipei for Chicago or Los Angeles and New York. So I think it does damage, and it does nothing to cool the situation off. I mean, I would have thought the president would have measured his words. And, you know, when you speak off the cuff like that, when you go off script and you say you're going to come to the aid of a nation, it only has about 13 countries in the world that recognize it. I mean, I always thought that the Taiwan issue should wind up in the United Nations. Oh, but then, by the way, the United Nations does not recognize Taiwan. You see where I'm getting at?
Yeah. I mean,
it's a private little quarrel that's going on, and he wants to turn it into WW3 as though he can do something about it, and he can't do anything about it. The U.S. Navy cannot interdict the Chinese Navy at that stage. And we would lose very badly, and we'd have to go on to the next level.
Joe, you say that, you know, he went off script, but as far as I remember, I mean, he was reading a prompter. That's not going off script. This seems like this was calculated and it was intended.
What I mean by off script is he might have written it in the column himself. It would have been news to Secretary of State Blinken. It would have been news to the Defense Department, and it would have been news to the commander of the Indo-Pacific Fleet, who has to defend or has to do this kind of thing. Look, I've had long conversations with Harry Harris, former head of the Indo-Pacific Fleet, and he's made it very clear to all of us in briefings that there's no way on God's green earth can the United States defeat the Chinese Navy in those waters, because they work within 100 miles, and the United States doesn't have the supply lines. And of course, what the Chinese would do is they'd start lobbing small nuclear weapons on American bases and said, "I dare you to do something else." I mean, it would escalate very quickly. We would be terribly embarrassed, and we would be out of business right away.
Okay.
I think the president should be thinking of something else diplomatically rather than threatening the Chinese.
There's one more thing I want to ask you, Joe, before I let you go. Trade. Donald Trump took the United States out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Why doesn't Joe Biden revive that and actually come up with the Indo-Pacific economic framework? I mean, what's the intention here? Because when you look at it, it's not sort of your traditional trade agreement.
That's right. Look, the reason he doesn't revive it is for the same reason that Hillary Clinton disowned it. It was very unpopular among unions and working class people, or working class or manufacturers in the United States. It just didn't have that kind of support from the community. So what he decided to do was offer an Indo-European deal, and that is this trade pact. I've seen these things for 50 years. They're all pipe dreams. Nothing comes to pass. The last one was better than this one. And look, anything that leaves the People's Republic of China out of a trade agreement is doomed to fail, because it is a fact of life. That is, that it's one of the great trading nations in the world, and all the nations in that region have major negative trading patterns with that country. That is, they buy more than they can sell. And so it doesn't make any sense. I've heard tonight someone say that people like to see the United States lead in that area, but they don't want to choose between Beijing and Washington. And indeed, they don't. They want to keep their options open. And frankly, I mean, look at Biden. On his trip to Japan and South Korea, he only had 2 out of 10 Americans said America is going in the right direction. He only had a performance rating of 39%. I mean, he's not going to be around in 2 years. I mean, he's going to lose the next election anyway if he runs for it. So, you know, they're talking to, dead man walking. He's making promises he can't keep, and they're talking to a man they're probably not going to see again.
Joe Siracusa, always a pleasure having you on the show. Do appreciate the analysis. Thank you.